What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. The road to predict all 136 FBS level college football teams this summer takes its next stop and our second to last trip to the Fun Belt to Monroe, Louisiana, where the Warhawks are looking to get into the bowl game after coming this close just a season ago. My name is Nate Both, otherwise known as Tailgate Nate. Thank you all so much for clicking on the video and, of course, for helping to support the channel. You want to support the channel even further, then please go down below, hit that subscribe button, and while you're at it, hey, you might as well ring the bell. Turning on notifications will ensure that you don't miss a thing for the rest of prediction season and, of course, for the college football season as well. Now, I am a sports media graduate delving into the professional world of the industry, so if you want to keep up with me outside of YouTube and see what I get up to in the industry, but yet still get updates on what goes on this channel, then give me a follow at TailgateNate29 on Twitter, Instagram, and you can feel free to even email me at tailgatenate29@gmail.com, working on some other social medias as well. Thank you for supporting and interacting with me in the channel in literally whatever way you do so. And with all that said and done and out of the way, Bryant Vincent is your head coach yet again this season. Some interesting storylines with this program entering this year. One, let's look at last year. 5-7, and they started out 5-1. A lot of people thinking, man, this team's on a roll. There's no way they're not going to make a bowl game. And then they lost their last 6 games. Defense, really a big reason why, and we're going to dive into it and talk about all of it here in this video. But when I look at this ULM team, Bryant Vincent really did change the culture. Bryant Vincent is doing some great things. He is now taking an additional role as the interim athletic director, while as of this current moment, and to my knowledge, still being the head football coach. So we'll see how he can balance those two roles. It is going to be a very interesting season in Warhawk football. How do we do preview predictions here on the channel? Well, we are going to go through a roster overview where the offense is over here to the left and the defense is over here to the right. At the end of the video, we will dive on in to the ULM football schedule. I'll give it a game-by-game preview and prediction, and this video overall is here to tell all of you what I think about the Warhawks in 2025. Now, before we dive on into things, right down below is your returning production numbers. They are according to ESPN, factoring in portal additions up to a certain yet small percentage, and even down below that, recruiting and transfer portal ranks for the class of 2025 are according to 24/7 Sports. There is no true offensive or defensive coordinator. Bryant Vincent does help run the offense, and it really is that offensive mind that's going to be calling plays for this team. So let's start by taking a look at the most important position on the field. That is the quarterback room. Well, last season, your quarterback play really was not outstanding. You are going to lose General Booty, who is transferring out of the program, which means Aiden Armenta, your primary starter from last year, is going to be coming back. He's got to take some leaps this year. 1,292 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions on merely 55% completion percentage. Hey, completed more than half of his passes. That's good, but you need that yard production to go up. You're definitely going to end up needing that touchdown to interception ratio to be improved. And look, I get it. This is not a team that threw the football a lot last year. Just 246 pass attempts last season. They ran the ball over 450 times. Aiden Armenta did 47 times last year run the football. However, not a guy that's going to get outside of the pocket and known for his rushing ability. Again, just not a guy that you're going to see run the football out of the pocket a whole lot for this team. So when I take a look at the quarterback position, I do expect Armenta to take that step forward this year, but no one else really in this quarterback room I'm looking at and saying, wow, okay, they can be a real good stud. I think Armenta can be solid. I don't think he's going to be anything crazy special. Same thing with guys like Herring Hunter, a transfer in Mason McHugh, a freshman they brought in, and Bryson Kimbrough. Again, nothing really wows me. You're just looking for some steady, solid, consistent play out of this quarterback unit. And maybe even that massive leap, I think will help with that as well if they can make it. Your offensive highlight from last season, and really a big-time reason why you did win so many games in the early part of the year, Ahmad Hardy has transferred over to Mizzou. Listen to this stat line for the Warhawk offense. 1,351 yards on 237 carries. Math nerds, That's correct. 5.7 yards per carry and 13 touchdowns last season. Really was the offensive playmaker for this team. Had more rushing yards than any quarterback had passing yards last season. This offense flowed through Ahmad Hardy, and if it's still going to flow through the run game, it's got to find a different piece to do it with. So your new room pretty much going to build entirely through the portal because you do lose some other pieces as well. James Jones is going to be gone. Taven Curry is transferred over to Akron, so on and so forth. So you do get some guys transferring in. Zach Palmer-Jordan is coming over from Richmond. You have Braylon McReynolds, who's a South Alabama transfer. He actually had some really good playing time with the Sun Belt rival in the Jaguars. You do get Tyrell Reed, who's an Arkansas transfer. Jaden Wright, who's a Minnesota transfer. And so look, some solid pieces are here. Much like the quarterback position, does anything wow me? No, not really. If the run game is still going to be the focus, I don't think you see one guy get a bulk ton of the carries like you saw Ahmad Hardy do last year, unless they really excel, unless they really just do insanely well like you saw Hardy do last year. I think you're going to see a bunch of guys touch the rock out of the backfield this year. Now the wide receiver room. I know it does not get utilized as much as this running back room. I think you could see its production value go up this year. And well, there are going to be a lot of pieces that have to step up. Your catch leader last year and Devon Wells is going to be exiting this program. Now, was not your leading receiver, but 29 catches, 262 yards, 2 touchdowns. Your leading receiver, a guy by the name of Jake Godfrey, is going to be coming back to this team. He returns as probably the best piece in this wide receiver room, but those two guys were the only two pieces to have at least 20 catches last year, and only 2 others had double digits. Again, just not a team that utilizes this passing offense that well. So really going to count on them to run the football well, this offensive line to be pretty solid. But again, when you talk about the pass catching room, you still got to talk about it. They do utilize it still a pretty fair amount. They're not like Army, Air Force, and Navy that are going to run the ball 600, 700, 800 times that season. So some other solid returners to pair with Godfrey, Tyler Griffin, Javon Campbell. Entire 2 deep is going to be built through the transfer portal. Really good piece coming in from New Mexico. Nick Trujillo is going to be coming over from the Lobos, 305 yards last year. So, and it's because of these transfers they bring in that I think you're going to see the wide receiver room utilized a little bit more. I still have this feeling it's probably still going to be a team that is led through their run game, but wide receiver room should utilize a lot more. Tight ends, we'll see. Your lead tight end, Nate Sullivan, does come back. There is some new depth behind him. Again, we'll see how this pass catching room gets utilized this year. Offensive line really did not struggle as much as you may believe out of a program like ULM. You may think, okay, so their offensive line really didn't do that great. That's not at all the case here, friends. They actually performed pretty darn well last season. They only allowed 21 sacks, and again, this rush game was able to get 4.5 yards per carry. Now, this is a line that still can see improvement, and it really does not lose that much production, I don't believe. There are quite a good amount of returners on this offensive line. You do have a transfer in Kayleen Crosswell that's going to be coming in from Garden City Community College. That probably will slot into a starting role, among some other really nice returning pieces that have a lot of starting experience. This is an overall offense, though, that is going to need to level up their play. Starts with the quarterback position. Armenta's just got to figure something out, and at the very least, if this is the passing attack that's just not going to be that utilized like it was last season, then get that touchdown interception ratio improved. The team will be better for it. I'm very curious to see what the game plan is in this running back room after Ahmad Hardy transfers over to Mizzou. And the offensive line, we'll see if it can continue its success from a season ago. Unlike your offense where you don't have an offensive coordinator, you do defensively. It is Ernest Hill. The defense held up in a lot of wins. Early in the season, you got some really close, slug it out type of games. The most notable one, in my opinion, that 13-9 victory against Troy. You also did have your defense step up in a massive way in a win over James Madison last season. However, this defense, when this team did lose games and down the stretch of the season, really did get blown up, and it got absolutely shredded. Now, when you take a look at the talent that is coming back defensively, well, let's talk about something that you lost first, and let's start out on the defensive front. Eric Barquette. He was a major piece to this defensive line last year, 35 tackles a season ago, really is the only major defensive line loss, but your linebackers do see the top two players in the room leave. Carl Glass, who had 87 tackles a season ago, you're going to lose him, as well as a guy with 68 tackles, still a nice solid season, and Trevor Randall. You are going to be losing both of those guys from a season ago. So there are your notable losses in the front seven. Still some other guys you could throw on that list, but the overall defensive front has all but two seniors in the 2 deep. Basically what that statement right there means is out of everyone in their 2 deep, everyone is a senior, but two players, and it's not even like they're crazy young either. They are juniors, and both of them are going to be sitting back in this 2 deep as second stringers. You have a lot of experience on the defensive front. Dylan Powell, Kevontae Wells, Jaden Hamlin, so on and so forth. It says right there, I think Kevontae Wells is going to lead up front. Again, that's exactly what I think is going to happen. Linebacker room, you can kind of say the same thing. Now, again, does still lose two really, really valuable pieces, but you do get Billy Pullen coming back to play that bandit position. You get Tyrese Hopkins back to play that Mike or middle linebacker position. And to play your rover this year is going to be Cedrion Langston. Hopefully pronounced that name correctly. And again, a lot of experience, good depth, is going to sit behind you there in that 2 deep. So overall up front, you just have a ton of experience, some really good returning pieces from last year. I think it can still provide some really good moments like you saw earlier in the season last year. When you take a look at the defensive back room, your lead tackler in Wydett Williams, who had, or I should say, hit the triple-digit mark, exactly 100 tackles a season ago. He's transferred over to Ole Miss, where he's looking to be one of the better defensive backs over with Lane Kiffin and the Rebels. Did also lead the team in interceptions last year with not one, not two, but 3 of them. There are some other really major defensive back losses, but it's not about what you lost, it's about what you have, and you still have Carl Fontroy. He's going to be the leader here in this defensive back room. Very, very notable returner, and you do have some solid ads through the transfer portal. Most notably, though, is going to be a guy by the name of Diarco Perkins McAllister. That is first and last name. He's a Chattanooga transfer who saw some time at New Mexico as well as TCU. You do get some other really nice pieces coming back to the secondary, but those are your very notable ones that return to this unit. Your special teams is going to remain a constant as your primary punter, now a true sophomore in Mackenzie Ryan, and your primary place kicker, Max Larson, will be returning to this program. Hey guys, that's your special teams report. Kickers are people too, and we need to show them some love. Overall, you take a look at this ULM program. Overall, look, you love the job that Bryant Vincent has done. This team has got to replace some major pieces, and the slide at the end of last season does give me a little bit of pause. It does raise some eyebrows for me and give me some concern. If they were to even finish the season 6-6, 7-5, sure, it's not the way you wanted to end the season after you started at 5-1, but there is a lot of optimism within this program, right? Bryant Vincent built something great last year, and he can turn that into something pretty good this year if enough pieces are there to replace what you lost. So here is the ULM 2025 football schedule. Before we dive on into it, we'll look below me at some odds from FanDuel, and it just does project how good the odds makers think ULM's going to be this year. Gives you some good context. Not me telling you to go place your money. I'm the worst person to ask about that. I'm not a gambling expert by any means. You do what you want with your money. Again, just good context. Second to longest odds to win the conference. They are in a pretty competitive division, but that over-under win total, a little bit higher than you've seen out of ULM in the past. 4.5 is that over-under win total. I'll tell you right now, this is a ULM team I think is really going to struggle this year, and it's because of some of the top-tier defensive talent you lost. It's because of the loss to Ahmad Hardy, as well as just not really having a lot of confidence in the quarterback situation stepping up. So I don't think you're going to be able to fully replace what you lost defensively, so on and so forth. So let me go through and tell you why I think this team is going to struggle. Look, you're going to start out with the win against St. Francis. That much I think is pretty good, well, and set in stone. I think you're going to get that win, but the rest of the schedule, there are a lot of teams on it that, look, are very, very beatable. Don't get it twisted. There are a lot of teams here that ULM can beat, especially if Bryant Vincent is going to maintain the momentum with this program that we saw at the beginning of last year. But that slide that they had at the end of last season really did worry me. And look, you get to go on the road and play the Alabama Crimson Tide. You get the fortunate pleasure of getting beat down by Kalen DeBoer's group. Now, I know what ULM fans are going to say. You did beat Alabama when Nick Saban was there. Okay, great. Fantastic. You're not beating Alabama this season. That is a flash in the pan. That is a blue moon event. It is not going to happen this upcoming season. Kalen DeBoer's got a quarterback that's more going to fit his style, as Ty Simpson has officially been named the starter over there with the Crimson Tide, and that's exactly what I expected. I think he's going to be a good piece at quarterback for him this year. Got a lot of good wide receivers. Let's not forget Ryan Williams, who last year was spectacular and was only 17. Some really good young players on the defensive side of the ball as well. Alabama looking to break back in that playoff conversation. They are sitting there and they will beat ULM. Even after the bye week, you got some really tricky ones on the road against UTEP. If this one was at home, I'll tell you right now, I think ULM would win the game, but it is on the road. And UTEP is a team that I see trending in a very nice direction under Scotty Walden this year. I really like the quarterback in Skylar Locklear. I think he's got a really good wide receiver room that I think is going to be tough for a lot of defenses to slow down. And this is a ULM team that I think has trouble slowing down what UTEP can throw at them offensively. Running back pieces are going to change, but you have a lot of solid guys in there, and the minor defense should take a step forward this season as well, be able to slow down what ULM throws at them offensively. Now, you do get your bye week in between those two games, but again, I still think you lose that one to UTEP. At home against Arkansas State. Again, ULM very competitive early on last season. Again, much like UTEP, I think you're going to have an even tougher time slowing down what Arkansas State wants to do offensively, because they got the three-headed monster, a quarterback in Jalen Rayner that you need to watch out for, a running back in Jaquez Cross that you need to watch out for, and a wide receiver in Corey Rucker that, again, you to watch out for. Really good piece in every single level of this offense. Looking at the offensive line to improve a little bit, as well as the defense picking up its end of the bargain. So if this is an offense that can find some really good strides and find a running back that's going to take that role for Ahmad Hardy and really just explode, you're probably going to see a lot of points scored in this game against Arkansas State, but I think that offense is too talented, going to be too tough to slow down, and after all you lost, I don't think the necessary defensive pieces are here to do it. On the road against Northwestern, I think this is a winnable Power 4 game for this ULM program. I think you can go on the road and you can beat this Northwestern team. Do I think it happens? I think you fall just short. I think this is going to be a competitive game. I think it's going to be a really tight-knit affair at moments, but Northwestern pulls away at the end. Ryan Braun, we've seen him do good things with this program before. He can do it again, even if Northwestern does not have high expectations. They never usually do. Northwestern's still a team that I think is going to defeat ULM this season. Back into Sunbelt play after a one-game break. You get a home game against Coastal Carolina that you lose. You got a pretty solid head coach over there in Tim Beck, and by the way, need to get out to a game in Conway. Free concessions all year. Only got to get out there, man. Get out to South Carolina. Go to Myrtle Beach. Go to a game in Conway. Go have some fun. Yes, I am telling you to do that. Go do that. Obviously don't if you don't have the money. Anyway, getting off track here. Coastal Carolina is a team I still think is going to be talented and really competitive in the Sun Belt Conference. They are a team that I see having some pretty high upside, while overall they can struggle and their non-conference might kill their hopes of getting into a postseason bid. They're still a team that I'm looking at and thinking, yeah, okay, they're going to be a pretty competitive team in the Sun Belt this year. Troy, I think, has the potential to take a step up under Gerard Parker from what you saw last year, especially because Goose Crowder was hurt for a lot of last season. And I really like him as a quarterback. In fact, he was playing terrific for Troy until he got hurt. Now, you're losing some good defensive pieces, got to replace this, that, and the other. Sure, I get it. ULM did defeat Troy last year. But again, I think ULM lost a lot of talent, and Troy got some nice pieces back while adding in through the transfer portal some really nice, good, solid pieces. I think Troy's going to be a team to maybe not make a lot of noise, but they're going to be an interesting team to watch out of the Sun Belt for sure. Still think overall they have their fair share of struggles, as there are a lot of good teams in this division in the Sun Belt this year, but that is going to be a loss for the Warhawks again. And you can probably see where the season is trending by this point, but just in case, I'll predict a few more games. On the road against Southern Miss, Southern Miss is going to be one of the more interesting teams to figure out this year. You take a look at what they got through the transfer portal. Massive, fantastic haul. Charles Huff is coming over from Marshall to be the head coach, and I think you're going to see some immediate improvements. And it could be anywhere from, look, the team was a 1-win team last year. It could be a 3-win team. That's what I'm predicting this year. It could be a 5-win team. It could be a 6-7. I think they can get to 8 wins. Realistically, probably 6 or 7 you're looking at for Huff's first year. But look, Huff just got done coaching in a conference championship game last season, took Marshall there to the same conference. He is switching divisions, but Southern Miss brings in some really good talent and I think takes a step forward this season. They beat ULM. Old Dominion. A lot of people are sleeping on this Monarchs team, man. I think they made some massive steps under their head coach last season. Old Dominion's got a really nice, talented team coming back. Some really good pieces returned from last season. You are getting your star linebacker Henderson back from injury. He's going to make a massive difference in the team this year. Definitely going to push for a bowl game. Old Dominion beats ULM. And then to end out the season, you have probably the 3 teams that are going to be the front runners in the Sun Belt West Division. South Alabama, even though they lost Gio Lopez, are getting some nice solid pieces coming in through the transfer portal, as well as some good pieces back. The most notable aspect, though, Devin Voisin is going to be returning to the likes of this wide receiver room. When he's on fire, no matter who's at quarterback, whether it's Zach Pyron, Bishop Davenport, so on and so forth, if he can get back to healthy form, he's going to be an absolute dog. And Kentrell Bullock could be one of the better running backs in the Sun Belt Conference, as well as this Jaguar defense. Brought in some nice pieces through the portal to bulk up on some nice returners that they already have. Jaguars going to be one of the top teams in the division this year. That is a loss for the Warhawks. And then 2 road games against probably the 2 teams that'll battle it out for this division, at least I think. Texas State. Not as high on Texas State this year as I was last year, but look, you're going to get some really nice pieces in through the portal. It was going to be Giovanni McCoy. Now it'll probably end up being Nate Yarnell at the quarterback position. Still like it. He's a good, experienced piece. You'll lose Ismail Mahdi. Okay, Lincoln Pear is still in that running back room. Lose some good wide receiver pieces. Hey, you still got a very nice court, and the defense should take a nice step under G.J. Kinney this year. Texas State will be a team vying for the division, and it's a road game for the Warhawks, a game that they lose. And you also go on the road to lose to Louisiana, the Sun Belt champions from last year. A lot of good offensive pieces, a lot of good defensive pieces led by that secondary, that safety player, and Tyree Skipper. Really like what Michael DeSormo has got in Raging Cajun territory this year, and that's going to be a loss. So, look, to be perfectly honest with you, if I could go back and redo my predictions, the one team that I probably would look at and say, you know, I think I'm probably going to get them wrong is this ULM team. Now, I look at every team and say, well, I'm probably going to get something wrong. It's just because predictions are hard. But 1-11 for ULM, guys, I see as the bare minimum floor. Now, it just so happens that I believe, look, Old Dominion's underrated, even though I think ULM can win the game. Southern Miss is going to take a step up this year, even though it could take some time for Charles Huff to get things figured out. Troy, who knows what happens with Gerard Parker's group this year. Again, I said you can beat Northwestern. You do have a road game against UTEP I think is winnable. Arkansas State, if you want to make some noise at the beginning of the season, I think that's a team that you can beat at home. There are winnable games on this schedule, and 1-11, guys, is just going to feel like this massive disappointment here, especially after what Bryant Vincent was able to accomplish with this program last season. I'm man enough up here to admit this could be the worst prediction that I have all season. I'm very well aware of that. However, there are a lot of things here to make me believe that they don't have as good of a season as they did last year, even if it's 2-10, 3-9. A little improvement based off of what I have. I still don't think 5-7 is going to happen this year. I think they lost too much. I don't think they're replacing it with the quality of talent that you had last season, with Bryant Vincent having to juggle all these roles, especially his new role. We'll see what this football team looks like. Really interested mainly to find out how they replace their pieces. But overall, ULM does struggle, has the potential for greater, but I got this as one of the bigger group of 5 disappointments we have in the country this year. Let me know what you guys think about the Warhawks in the comment section below. Hey, remember to play hard but tailgate harder, and I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.